Get my 6. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Homesteading Off the Grid. I saw an angel yesterday. I truly, honest to God, believe I saw an angel yesterday. And I'm sure after you hear this story, you'll agree that I did. So, just an update. I'm feeling great. 13 days ago from today, I tested positive. How am I doing? Well, today I ran 3 miles this morning, came home, had breakfast with my family, showered, took my family hiking for about 3 hours, walked for several more miles in the woods, went out and had a nice late lunch, early dinner on the way home, and came home, built a fire, sat down on the couch, and dozed off for about 20 minutes. I guess I was a little bit cream crackered, as they'd say in England. That means tired. So I made myself a cup of coffee to come up here and tell you this angel story. So I guess the point of all that is 13 days after testing positive, again, I do believe because of measures I've taken that were my personal choices, as well as overall good health and being fit, and active, I feel great. Still can't smell or taste, though. That sucks. All right, so here's what's going on with this angel. And it didn't occur to me until last night, just before I went to bed. My wife and I were in the kitchen. We were getting water to keep it there on the nightstand by the bed. And I said, oh my gosh, honey, that girl we met today was an angel. And I reminded her of the girl in the situation. I'm going to tell you about it now. And she said, oh my gosh, I think you're right. A couple months or so ago, I made a few videos about angels, some experiences other people have had and had shared with us. And I made one about 9 months ago, just the angelic people that worked at Martha Jefferson Hospital in Charlottesville who treated me when I was hospitalized for a few days. So here's the story. Here's the situation. This is what happened. We went into town yesterday. We had some errands to run, and I'm going to be vague here, and it's for a reason. You know, when you're on social media, when you're a YouTuber, a lot of folks think, wow, gosh, you share your whole life with millions of strangers every month. No, we don't. We show you a small part of our life that we choose to share with you, but the majority of it we don't. We actually keep it private for our own safety. So with that said, you'll understand why I'm going to be vague about this situation that took us into town yesterday. So I decided to join like a group that deals with health, fitness, kind of the stuff I'm into. And the people are positive. They're not toxic. These are people who want to be the best thems that they can be. Like me, I'd like to challenge myself to be the best I can be at everything I do, because why else do it in the first place? And why get out of bed if you're not going to just go out there and be great that day at whatever it is you do? You know, that's just my attitude. It's not a gym. I didn't join a gym. But it's a group of like-minded people who want to be the best thems they can be. I sought this group out, heard about them for some time. So I went to familiarize myself with this group and join. I was there for about an hour to an hour and a half because I had to do like an intake type thing, fill out forms. So my beautiful bride, Dearly, aka Giggly Girl, and our son Daniel were with me. They went for a walk. One of the things we were going to do while we were in town yesterday too was go to the grocery store, get some groceries. And so they figured, hey, while you're in there doing that, we'll go ahead and get our walk in, because where I was about a 1 hour walk to the grocery store we were going to. And they said, just come there when you're done, meet you there. So we can get our walk in. And I thought, well, that's a great way to, you guys use your time while I'm over here doing this. So, but while we're going into town, I told my wife, I said, okay, I'm not going to small talk with anybody today. I'm not going to be polite and kind and cordial to strangers. like I typically am, like I always am, because of a kind of a bad experience I had just a few days ago when we were in town, and I shared that story. A young lady who just decided she was going to take offense to anything that came out of my mouth. She was one of these folks that just wanted to be offended, and it just really, I didn't like that experience. So I told my wife, I'm not talking to anybody today if I don't have any business talking to them. And that's how she rolls anyway. And that's kind of cultural. I mean, in the Philippines, and I had to adjust to this. If they don't know you, they typically don't speak to you. They don't say, hi, how are you? Because they don't care. It's just part of the culture. And so my wife, that's how she spent her life. So she doesn't do it. Me, I'm like Mr. Backwoods, happy-go-lucky, saying hi to everybody. And sometimes it backfires. I mean, you'll just say hi to somebody who's having a bad day or is not in the mood to be spoken to, and they let you know, like the situation the other day. So my wife, she told me when I said this, she said, don't do that. You've got to be who you are. I like the fact that, she knows she kind of comes off as cold because she just does small talk with people she doesn't know. She's got no interest in it. But she thinks that's one of the likable things about me. And she said, be yourself. Don't let a bad experience with some, crotchety young lady make you be somebody you're not, and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yeah, I hear you. Well, just maybe I'll get over it here in a few days. But today I'm just not, if I don't have any reason to talk to him, I'm not talking to him. So I'm at this place. I'm doing this intake thing. And met some wonderful people, met a few different people. Liked them all. There was this one person I had to talk to, and she was asking me a lot of questions as far as like, it's for, what is it? Demographics. And it was so funny. I mean, listen, I'm going to tell you, I love Charlottesville. I love living here. But there are a lot of snobs. And there are a lot of folks who like to play that I'm offended first game. They're offended by whatever you say, and they try to put you on your heels and make it look like you're a racist or a misogynist or all these terrible things. You absolutely aren't. It's just a game they play. And the closer you get to the university, the more of these folks you run into, oddly. But I will point out they are the minority. The majority of the folks in my community, I really believe, are wonderful people, and it's one of the reasons I love to live here. And again, once I've identified the folks who like to play that game and the pretentious snob types, we just have nothing to do with them. You just never know when you're going to run into one. That's kind of the scary part of it. So this lady's asking me all these intake questions, and since it does deal with health and fitness and all these things, I totally understood the reasoning for the questions. They want to make, number one, they keep track of demographics, and they want to make sure that you're capable of doing the things that are required with, safely. So she says at one point in the conversation, she goes, and this is why I told you about what it's like in Charlottesville. She obviously deals with people every day in our community. And she goes, now, I really don't want to offend you by asking you this question. And if you don't want to answer it, you don't have to answer it. But it's just one of the questions here that I'm supposed to ask, and I'm not trying to be offensive. Please don't be offended. And again, you don't have to answer it. I'm thinking, geez, what is this question coming here? And I say, well, okay. And she says, what is your race? And I'm like, 5K, 10K. I've got, no, not like ethnicity wise, like skin color. And I'm like, I'm white, Caucasian, whatever. She's like, oh, and she was a white woman about my age. I was like, well, that's just odd. And then I thought, well, maybe it's because she works with so many people in Charlottesville who get offended by everything. Who knows how many times a day she runs into people that play that I'm offended first game. I'm not one of those people, so she don't got to worry about that with me. She was worried, though, you could tell. So then she's going on and ask me other just common questions about demographics. She goes, I really, I hate to have to ask you this, and same thing. And it was like, well, it was something about gender. I'm a male. Okay, marital status. This is none of my business. This is, if you don't want to answer. And I'm like, married. My wife's name's Dearly. So whatever. But this is funny, and I'm gonna say it like it is. And I'm not trying to brag, and I'm not trying to break my arm patting myself on the back here, but I think there's a point to this. I want to tell you this part of the story too. Last question. She goes, do you know your income? I'm like, yeah. And she goes, what is it? She didn't have any problem asking me that. Well, I didn't have any problem answering the question, and so I answered it. I told her, and she's like, oh my God. And she was scrolling. She goes, you're off the chart. There's not even a bracket for that on this form. And I said, you want to know a secret? And she goes, yeah. Like I was going to tell her this great, mystical, insightful financial stuff. And really, I think it was. And I said, I think what you'll find is that if you spend less of your time finding things to be offended by, especially simple things such as, your skin color, your gender, whatever, you'll have more time to make money. And she's like, wow. I never thought of that. And I'm like, yeah, I think there's a lot of people that don't think about that. But it's like, why get bogged down with stupid stuff and being offended by nonsense when you can focus on just being productive, producing, being good at what it is you do, your job or your career or whatever. Personally, I don't take that much joy out of being offended. I'd rather come out here and make YouTube videos and write my books and go on with life. So anyway, what's this have to do with the angel? I'm getting there. This is good coffee. I can't wait until I can smell it and taste it again. So I finished up and left that place, feeling good about it. I'm really excited about getting together with these people and being the best us as we can be, whether other people like it or not. So I get to the grocery store. And Dearly and Daniel had made it there well before I got there. And we didn't need a whole lot of stuff. So by the time I got there, they were already in line. So I went over and got in line with them. And waiting in line. And look, I got to tell you this. I discovered something truly awesome when I was isolated in my house for 10 days straight after testing. And I think they've changed the protocol on that again. I'm not even going to try to give you any information on that now because they've changed it again. But when we tested positive, my wife and I, they were saying isolate for 10 days. So we stayed in the house for 10 days. And people were bringing us stuff, some of our friends, some of our neighbors. We have wonderful neighbors. Couple households suck. But the rest of them are wonderful. The majority of them are wonderful. One, is the annoying neighbor, and then a couple snobs over this way. We just have nothing to do with them. And we really would hope that whatever was going on in that video last night would cease. But don't worry, I am dealing with that. I just don't want to show my cards right now. Trust me, that is being dealt with. I'm just not showing my cards right now. So anyway, there's a Whole Foods market in our community, and that's owned by Amazon. Not sponsored, though I love them. Sell a lot of books there. You can order your groceries online. Many of you have Whole Foods in your areas. You know about this. You can order your foods online, pay online, and they deliver them to your house. I always wanted to try that, but I never have because my wife actually enjoys grocery shopping. I don't. I hate it. I view it as a waste of time. There's so many other things I could be doing with my time. But she enjoys it, and I totally get it. Could you imagine if for the first 28 years of your life, you lived in a third world country and you didn't know where your next meal was coming from? And then all of a sudden, you live in America and you can go into any grocery store of your choosing and fill your cart and buy whatever you want and not have to worry about how much it costs. I get it. I can understand why she enjoys going to the grocery store. So, but while we were isolating, I said, hey, let's try this Whole Foods market thing, see how it works. We ordered maybe $70 or $80 worth of stuff, and they came to our house and dropped it off on our porch like approximately 2 hours later. It was wonderful. And so we did it again the next day just because we thought it was so neat. So anyway, if I had my way, that's how I'd always do it. But whatever. So we're at the store. We're waiting in line. And the line was moving excruciatingly slow. It was very slow. And there was only one other person in front of us. It was an older woman, and she didn't really have a lot of stuff. And I'm like, what's going on here? I look over at the cashier, and she was a very beautiful young black lady. I would say 20 at the oldest, probably 18. It's like she looked like she might have turned 18 last week. Cute as could be. Just a gorgeous girl, but she was very slow. And I thought, well, maybe she's new. Just be patient. This is something I learned years ago. When you have to wait, you can either wait patiently or you can wait impatiently. But either way, you still have to wait. So I'm sitting there talking to my son, talking to my wife, hearing the people behind me grumble. They're not, a lot of them were not being quite as patient as I was. That was just a deer. I know what those things sound like. So, all the lines were long. There's a lot of people, we've got New Year's Eve coming up, New Year's Day here in just a couple days. So I guess people are stocking up for the holiday. And we're waiting. We were probably in that line for 20 minutes. And so I look up at the cashier again. I'm thinking, what's going on? Why is she so slow? And I noticed she had something in her hand. She was holding something in her hand, but it wasn't a scanner. It was red and it was blue. And I'm like, what is that? Whatever that is, if she just put that down, maybe she'd be able to get her job done quicker, and all of us people wouldn't be waiting in line. But I didn't say anything. I didn't want to be, a mean guy. I'm just waiting. So we finally get up there. It's our turn, and I come around the front, and she has her name tag. I saw her name, and underneath her name, it said, I'm autistic. And I looked down, and I saw that what she had in her hand, that red and blue thing, was a transformer. The toys, it was Optimus Prime. And I thought, okay, I see what's going on here. I see why she's going a little bit slower than what I might have expected. And I thought, man, I'm really glad I wasn't frustrated and bent out of shape, and certainly didn't say anything mean, which is not my way anyway, because, man, that would have been like open mouth, insert foot. So she's ringing up the stuff, and at Harris Teeter, we bag our own groceries. One of the reasons the lines are always so long there is because so few other people do. They don't have baggers. They have a cashier, and you can bag your own groceries, and we always do. We are not so self-important that we see ourselves above bagging our own groceries. If everybody else did this at Harris Teeter, there would never be a line. But you'll watch people just stand there and let the cashier do it all. Ring them up, bag, ring it up, bag, ring it up, bag. And they'll just stand there and roll their eyes because it's taking so long. How about you lend a hand and bag your own groceries, and the lines won't be there in the first place? Whatever. Hey, I know there's a lot of very important people that live in my community. We're just not among them, so we bag our own groceries. We're sure the people behind us appreciate it. So the girl, she's ringing up the stuff, and I would notice, like, we got a bag of oranges. She'd ring it up, and then she would count the oranges, and I figured, well, this is just something that she does. And I instinctively felt like just speaking to her, just talking to her, asking her how her day was going. But then I remembered what I'd told my wife on the way into town because of the really nasty experience I had with the really nasty cashier at the last place. I wasn't going to speak to anybody. I was not going to be kind. I was not going to be nice. I was not going to be polite. I was not going to speak to anybody that I had no business speaking to, which was only the people in that group that I dealt with earlier, but certainly not this cashier. Now I'm watching her, and I'm seeing the line form, behind us, and people are getting kind of noticeably irritated. And I thought to myself, you know what, Kevin? Be you. Be you. Here I was talking about earlier about being the best me I can possibly be in all things. Well, one of the ways I really think I'm kind of, one of the things I'm good at is just, you hear people talk about be kind. I am terrified of those people because they're the biggest assholes in reality you'll ever meet. Listen, you don't need to talk about the importance of being kind. Be kind. Spread kindness. If you're kind, people will know because it will show. When you're the ones that's saying it and spraying it, you're probably not God, I wish I could have thought of something quickly that rhymed with all that. You're certainly not displaying it in reality. You know, gosh, man, I wish I knew how to edit. Like all these folks say, oh, this video's edited. I would like edit out that so that it would run smoothly, you know. I found, it's been my experience, those folks typically are passive aggressive and sociopathic. Okay, just you don't have to say it, just do it. So I looked at that girl and I said, is that Optimus Prime? And she looked up at me and she just lit up like a Christmas tree. Her eyes got big and she smiled. She goes, yeah, he's my favorite. I said, he was my favorite too. I said, back when I was a kid in the 80s, when those things were new, I had like so many of them and he was always my favorite. And she goes, here, you want to play with him? He's got I almost broke my chair. And she's like, he's got the rocket boosters, but I lost his fist. It was one of the ones that had like the push buttons and his hands were balled up in fists, and you push the button and his fist would shoot out. And she was telling me she thinks they're under her bed at home and all that. She has to find them. So I said, I'd love to play with him if you'll let me play with him. Thanks. And so I took her, you know, her Optimus Prime. And so she actually started going a little faster, and she's talking about Optimus Prime and Transformers. And I'm playing with him, and Daniel comes over and we start playing. Well, the people in line kind of realized what was going on, and they all kind of had an aha moment. And the mumbling stopped, the grumbling stopped. She finally finished her job. I gave her her toy back. And when we left, she was smiling. I was smiling. And I was genuinely happy. And all that negative, nasty, toxic crap from Little Miss Thing that I had the situation with, you know, another cashier that I just tried to be polite and spoke to about 4 days ago, that was gone. That has been lifted. That's completely gone. And I am so happy that I spoke to that beautiful young cashier yesterday. You know, you think about deadbeats who are perfectly able-bodied and capable of working, but don't because they choose to live off of the system or other people. What is their excuse? Here's this beautiful young lady who is autistic working down there 6 or 8 hours a day doing this. And I am so happy and I am so blessed to have crossed paths with that girl. And I am convinced she's an angel. Because you know what my definition of angel is? Angels, I believe, often come in human form. I believe they're human beings that God puts in our lives when we need them. Sometimes these angels stay in our lives long term, such as our life's partner, like my wife, Dearly, my beautiful bride, Dearly, aka Giggly Girl. She is a sweet, absolute angel, and I pray that she's in my life for the long haul. Some angels come into your life for a season, maybe for a time when you need them, and some angels come into your life for just a minute or two, like this beautiful little cashier down there at Harris Teeter yesterday. I had a really bad experience that kind of was making me question whether or not I should continue to be who I am when I'm out and about. God sent her to me to say it's perfectly okay to be who you are, and to prove it, I'm gonna give you this angel for just a few minutes out of your life to prove it to you. So angels are real, folks. We just got to be looking for them. We got to know how to spot them when we see them, and they'll often show up when we least expect them. And it's probably so dark you can't even see me right now. So we'll see you for more next time.